The North American F-100 Super Sabre, an iconic American jet fighter that holds the distinction of being the first U.S. Air Force fighter capable of supersonic speed and level flight, was a revolutionary aircraft of the 1950s and 1960s that bridged the technological gap between the subsonic jets of the Korean War era and the advanced supersonic fighters that would dominate the skies during the Vietnam War and beyond, and its development, service record, and influence on aviation history remain a testament to the daring innovations and bold strategies of Cold War aviation design, born out of the legendary North American F-86 Sabre, which earned fame during the Korean War as a formidable MiG killer. The F-100 was envisioned as a faster, more powerful, and more versatile fighter that could meet the emerging demands of supersonic combat, nuclear strike delivery, and tactical air support, and thus in 1949 North American Aviation began studies on a new supersonic fighter, ultimately receiving approval in 1951 to proceed with the design, leading to the creation of the prototype designated YF-100A, which first took to the skies on May 25, 1953, with test pilot George Welch at the controls, achieving Mach 1.05 in level flight and proving the concept that the aircraft could exceed the speed of sound without diving, a feat unprecedented at that time. Structurally, the F-100 was characterized by its thin swept wing with a 45-degree angle, a slender fuselage optimized for supersonic flight, a high-mounted tailplane initially but later modified to a low-mounted horizontal stabilizer after stability problems, and a nose intake that fed air to its powerful Pratt & Whitney J57 turbojet engine, which produced over 10,000 pounds of thrust dry and nearly 16,000 pounds with afterburner, enabling the fighter to reach speeds in excess of Mach 1.3 and altitudes above 50,000 feet. Armed with four 20mm M39 cannons mounted in the nose, as well as provisions for bombs, rockets, and nuclear weapons, the F-100 represented a significant leap in both air-to-air and air-to-ground capabilities, though its initial career was marked by serious challenges, as early variants of the aircraft suffered from dangerous handling characteristics, particularly yaw and roll instability, which led to several fatal accidents and earned the jet the grim nickname, Sabre Dance, due to the violent oscillations it could enter during takeoff or landing if mishandled. Nonetheless, through extensive modifications, including the enlargement of the vertical tail fin and adjustments to the wing and stabilizer design, these issues were gradually resolved, and the F-100 entered service with the USAF Tactical Air Command in 1954, officially becoming the world's first operational supersonic fighter. In service, the F-100 evolved through several major variants, beginning with the F-100A, a pure air superiority fighter with limited ground attack capability, followed by the improved F-100C, which added mid-air refueling capability and expanded weapons carriage, then the F-100D, the most widely produced variant optimized for fighter-bomber roles with enhanced avionics, stronger wing pylons, and compatibility with guided weapons, and finally the F-100F, a two-seat trainer variant that also performed forward air control FAC missions and played a vital role in Vietnam as a Misty FAC aircraft guiding strike missions. The F-100 also carried nuclear bombs under NATO's tactical nuclear strike doctrine, serving as part of the U.S. nuclear deterrent in Europe during the height of the Cold War, where American squadrons based in Germany, France, and the UK trained rigorously to deliver nuclear payloads at supersonic speeds in the event of conflict with the Soviet Union and many European NATO allies, including France, Denmark, and Turkey, also adopted the Super Sabre as part of their own tactical air forces, making it a crucial transatlantic weapon system. During the Vietnam War, the F-100 saw extensive combat service beginning in 1961 when it was deployed to South Vietnam, initially flying close air support, interdiction, and bombing missions, and it became the first U.S. jet fighter to perform sustained combat operations in Southeast Asia, flying more combat sorties in Vietnam than any other U.S. fighter type. And though it was gradually overshadowed by more advanced aircraft like the F-105 Thunderchief and F-4 Phantom II, the Super Sabre nonetheless proved to be a rugged and reliable workhorse, delivering bombs, rockets, and napalm on Viet Cong and North Vietnamese targets, while also flying escort missions for B-52 bombers and conducting combat air patrols. Despite its versatility, the F-100 struggled in the air-to-air role against faster and more maneuverable MiGs, and its losses in dogfights underscored the transitional nature of the aircraft, as it was designed at a time when supersonic interception and nuclear strike were prioritized over sustained maneuverability in traditional air combat. But in the ground attack role, the F-100 excelled, earning respect from pilots and ground troops alike. Maintenance crews often praised the aircraft's durability, and though it required careful handling, pilots admired its speed, firepower, and ability to absorb damage, and the two-seat F-100F in particular became legendary for its Misty FAC missions, where pilots flew at treetop level to identify targets, direct strike aircraft, and sometimes mark enemy positions with smoke rockets, an incredibly dangerous role that demanded skill and courage, with many Misty pilots later becoming some of the most celebrated aviators of the Vietnam era. Production of the F-100 lasted until 1959, with a total of 2,294 aircraft built, and the aircraft remained in U.S. service into the early 1970s, though by then it had largely been relegated to Air National Guard units as more modern fighters replaced it in frontline roles. Nonetheless, the F-100's long service life, spanning nearly 3 decades across multiple continents, demonstrated the enduring value of its design, and internationally, it played a role in the air forces of countries such as France, Denmark, Turkey, and Taiwan, with some continuing to operate the aircraft into the 1980s. Technically, the F-100 also paved the way for future Century Series fighters, including the F-101 Voodoo, F-102 Delta Dagger, F-104 Starfighter, F-105 Thunderchief, and F-106 Delta Dart, each of which expanded upon the lessons learned with the Super Sabre, particularly in terms of supersonic aerodynamics, stability control, afterburner technology, and weapons integration, making the F-100 not just a fighter but a vital stepping stone in American aviation. Beyond its operational history, the F-100 also achieved several peacetime records, including setting new standards for speed and altitude, with one notable achievement on October 29, 1953, when the YF-100A reached a world speed record of 755.149 miles per hour, a feat that captured headlines and cemented its place as the vanguard of supersonic flight. Culturally, the aircraft became a symbol of American airpower during the 1950s and 1960s, featuring prominently in military parades, airshows, and recruitment campaigns, and its distinctive profile, with the sleek fuselage, nose intake, and swept wings, became instantly recognizable as an emblem of the jet age. Accidents, however, continued to plague the type, as high performance often pushed pilots and airframes to the limit, and between 1954 and 1971, nearly 889 F-100s were lost in accidents, reflecting both the risks of supersonic flight in its early era and the demands placed on the aircraft during wartime operations. Yet despite these losses, the aircraft's legacy is one of bold innovation, having bridged the gap between first-generation jet fighters and the multi-role supersonic aircraft that would dominate the late Cold War. Today, though long retired from active duty, the F-100 survives in museums, static displays, and private collections, where restored aircraft occasionally appear at airshows, their powerful engines and sleek profiles evoking an era when supersonic speed was new, dangerous, and thrilling. In summation, the North American F-100 Super Sabre was more than just the first supersonic fighter of the U.S. Air Force. It was a trailblazer that embodied the ambition, risks, and achievements of Cold War aviation, its career defined by groundbreaking innovation, sobering challenges, heroic combat service, and an enduring influence on subsequent generations of fighter aircraft, a true icon of the Century Series, that left an indelible mark on aviation history by proving that supersonic speed could be harnessed for practical, sustained military operations, and by doing so it opened the door to a new era of aerial warfare, where speed, power, and versatility became the defining characteristics of air superiority.